This calls to order the May 14th, 2025 regularly scheduled Cohasset Affordable Trust meeting, and we'll open the meeting with a roll call vote, starting with Paul Grady.
Paul Grady, present.
Ted Carr.
Ted Carr, present. Sorry I was late.
That's no points off yet. Cindy Matheson.
Cindy Matheson, present.
Steve Gomer, present. That gives us a quorum. The meeting is now called to order. Do we have any public comment, Cassandra?
You do not.
On the agenda. Okay, great. Moving right along. 43 Elm Street, Unit 2, the LIP application update.
So the application was approved by the state. So the final thing that they are waiting on is that Steve needs to sign the regulatory agreement so that I can get that over to them, which will require a vote of the trust for him to be able to do that on behalf of the trust members. And additionally, because it took a while for the state to get back to us, the lottery agent that the trust has contracted with is recommending an increase in the unit sale price to, as well as the current condo fee is updated and the tax rate was updated from 2024 to 2025. The new recommended unit sale price is $292,100 from $260,000. The state has already okay on this if the trust were to approve the new price.
So in order for the trust to consider this as a matter of discussion, does it have to show up prior on the agenda, or is this something that we can undertake in current meeting?
It does not need to be in executive session. Karis mentioned that yesterday, so it can be an open session.
And so this could also fall within items not anticipated within 48 hours in advance of the meeting.
That sounds good.
I think it can also, I mean, it's kind of part of the LIP application, so it could fall under the general updates for this property.
Okay. Does everybody understand what Cassandra has just pointed out?
Yep.
All right. Let's open up the floor for your thoughts, and with the idea that we're going to reach a conclusion on selling price such that the LIP application, I'm sorry, this marketing can move forward once the documentation is signed and accepted by the state.
Steve, I'd just make a motion to approve.
Approve.
Second.
Approve what?
It was changing the price.
Okay.
$292,100.
Raising the price to the recommended selling point of $292,000.
Okay.
100.
Yeah. Cindy, comments?
Yeah. Raise the price as the state or the lottery agent recommends to $292,100.
100. Thank you.
Okay. I have questions before we move forward, and Cassandra, maybe you can assist with this. This would be the price then sent along to the marketing agent, who would likewise post based upon that price. If we found little or no interest, and we were to consider lowering the price, what would that require?
I think it would probably require another vote by the trust, or at the very minimum, a discussion of such.
Yeah, I'm asking because going through the marketing agent is not exactly like working with a realtor, where you over a cup of coffee come to the conclusion that you need to shave a few points off of your price to get in line with whatever might be active in the marketplace. And I just don't want this to become so cumbersome for the trust that we don't recognize what the restrictions might be. And I'm pointing this out to each of you because I have no idea what the real estate market's going to look like. I would think that a property priced under $300,000 for, to live near the harbor in Cohasset would be pretty attractive. But real estate markets has been at best sorely tested of late. Unless, of course, you've got something for sale below 3 million, in which case, could be better. I'm okay going along with the marketing agent. Cindy, I do see your hand. And their recommendations on this, because frankly, they know better than I do, as a personal statement. But I do believe it makes sense to check in with that marketing, with our marketing resource as frequently as possible to make sure that we understand what level of interest is there, probably noted by applications coming in for the lottery, and move along. Okay. I just want to make sure we're clear on this, because depending upon whom I talk to in my business, which is a fairly geographically spread crowd, properties are either being snapped up in a heartbeat or they're sitting for long periods of time. Okay, and I can't discern and what the primary factor is in each of them, but I don't think we want this property to sit for an extended period, unsold, unoccupied, and therefore just being an asset, but a non-productive one on the trust balance sheet, as opposed to being a living unit and part of the community. So, all right, so we have a proposal on the table I'm sorry, Cindy, I did see your hand and completely forgot about it. Now you know why it's time for me to quit.
I just want to say quickly, I agree, absolutely want to stay smart about where the market is with that. I also think from fiduciary responsibility as the trust, and given all of the condo fees and insurance and stuff that we've accrued along the way, that it's in the best interest of the town if we at least list it at that higher rate that's permissible by the state. And if not, we will adjust, but I think we need to give it a shot.
Okay. All right. So the motion that's on the table is to adjust our price to the maximum recommended price. I'm sorry, the new recommended price by the lottery agent, which is, and I'm going to kick it back to you, $290,100.
Yeah.
$290,100. Is that correct?
292.
$292,100 as the recommended offering price for 43 Elm Street Unit 2. That's the motion. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay, so let's go around the horn. Cindy Matheson?
Cindy Matheson, aye.
Sorry, before you continue, can I just confirm who, for the minutes, who seconded that vote?
Ted did.
Thanks, Cassandra.
All
Go
right,
ahead.
Cindy Matheson.
Cindy Matheson, aye.
All right, Paul Grady.
Paul Grady, aye.
Ted Carr.
Ted Carr, aye.
Steve Gomer, aye. Okay, motion carries unanimously. Second item here, we want to move forward is the chair makes a motion requesting authorization to sign the regulatory agreement on behalf of the trust. This is the regulatory agreements required by the state in order for them to make final acceptance on the local, the LIP. Okay.
I'd second the motion.
So here's my question for you. I am getting this signed is important, and Cassandra, I ask you this because do they absolutely have to have the chairman's signature?
I think it's recommended that it's the chairman.
Could it
Did
be
you
the vice?
confirm
Could it
with
be
that?
could it be the vice chair?
I'm here. I can come by and sign.
That's what I'm thinking. I had expected to be in Cohasset this week. I'm not. And if this expedites the process, I'm quite willing to change the motion. On the other hand, if you deal with the state most frequently, we don't, thank God. And if you believe that's the chair's signature that's going to make it a smooth process, great. If it's a pain in the ass to assign another trust member to do it, then we'll move along. But if it's possible to expedite this by assigning that duty to, say, the vice chair, then I suspect that might, you'd have your signature today and could move it along much more quickly.
Eddie, do you have any experience with that? Do you know if my
I-
gut is
No.
that it's
As long as
probably
they,
okay?
yeah, generally, as long as a person of the committee, and especially somebody that holds a role like that, it's always been fine in my experience. We do it at the school.
Yeah, I mean, I would shoot Karis a quick email because she's more familiar with this. But yeah, if you've done it in the past, it probably is okay. I would
Okay.
quickly ask Karis.
Why don't we, my recommendation would be to make the motion to authorize Steve to sign, and if he is unable, to have Ted sign or something to that effect, and we can double check with Karis in the meantime.
Yeah, I think that's smart. You're covering your ground. Yep.
Sounds good.
Okay, so the motion from the chair is to gain authorization from the trustees for the chair or the vice chair, Ted Carr, to sign the regulatory agreement, whichever option provides duly authorized execution in the most expedient manner.
So moved. A second, sorry.
Nice.
Okay, motion and a second. Let's go around the horn one more time. Ted Carr,
Ted Carr, aye.
Cindy Matheson,
Cindy Matheson, I.
Paul Grady,
Paul Grady, aye.
Steve Gomer, aye. All right, motion passes. Cassandra, we'll wait to hear from you, right? The earliest I can get there is Tuesday. But I'm happy to do it, and Ted's available today. So if you get an indication sometime today, please let both Ted and I know directly, and we'll get it signed as quickly as possible.
I'm gonna email her right now and CC both of you on it.
Okay, great. All right, the next item is a summary of the Bartholomew report on the trust fund investments, and I had hoped to have them in hand, having scanned, be able to share a screen, and I have none of that. Now, having said that, you all might recall that we had originally discussed and approved our investment policy statement and so on, and then Rob had some family matters that frankly took up his attention, and he didn't have communication with Bartholomew for some period of time. The long and short of it is we did not start, but Bartholomew did not start investing the trust until about 2.5 months ago.
Ooh.
Okay, now, having said that, that's timing is everything. 70% of the trust is directed into fixed income instruments. 30% of the trust is directed into more risk-oriented equity investments. There's a separate pot that we've asked to be held aside of about $50,000 for cash needs, so we wouldn't have to go back and tap the trust on a regular basis. We'd be able to pull from those funds in order to pay current bills or make a rapid transaction if ever called upon to do that. For all of that, my review of 2 months worth of investment activity showed that we were effectively flat, which is really more of a nod to the fixed income investments holding solid. Well, if you remember over the last couple of months, the equity markets were interesting, maybe even to the point of being exciting. I'll make a longer term suggestion to the trust as a whole, and this is with respect to my departure and your ongoing activity with it. It's a nice chunk of money, and it can be put to good use but we don't know when that use is going to be. Now, we adopted an investment policy statement that led to as much as a 70% investment in fixed income, 30% in equity, which is a relatively conservative approach and probably appropriate, especially if the trust itself were handling the investments. Since we have an investment advisor, Bartholomew, and generally speaking, many of our activities are longer term in nature. I think it's worth having the conversation with Bartholomew and listening to what they might recommend could be a productive asset allocation that lives within the investment policy statement, but might differ from what we see here. Okay, now if that sounds like a bunch of gobbledygook, what I'm saying in plain English is that I would caution the trust at being too conservative and thus not growing the trust fund over time. And that doesn't mean go hog wild and buy Bitcoin. It simply means talk with Bartholomew on a regular basis. Twice a year is a good check-in. But also ask them, hey, you know, what can we do with this allocation that lives within our investment policy statement and allows us to maybe grow the value of the trust as opposed to just generating interest. Okay. I have seen, I did sit in on their portfolio reports for the OPEB trust, which is a very different animal. It's intended for long-term growth. And some of the town's separate trusts. And I have to say that they have put together a thoughtful investment recommendation for each of those. And frankly, the OPEB trust, which is a longer term, again, a long-term growth instrument, has performed very well under their management. So I think, you know, from what I've observed, and this goes back to probably 8 years ago when we first encountered Bartholomew for the town. They and several other entities who specialize in municipal investment had come forward. The other candidates at the time were equally as impressive. Bartholomew simply had a longer track record and had a greater understanding, I think, of what we were actually looking for in the town at that point. Keep your eyes, you know, as if it were your own investments, your own account structure. Keep your eyes wide open. Ask questions all the time. But one of the questions I would ask them is to help guide an investment strategy that balances risk and return and lives within the investment policy statement. There, that's it. Questions? Let me know. I will get copies of the report to Cassandra, who in turn, you know, through scanning it, or maybe Cassandra, I'll scan it and get it to you, and you can distribute it to the members of the trust. Like I said, there's only 2 months worth of data in it, so it's not like it's astounding. Ted, go ahead.
Sorry, just before we go too far, I just saw Karis responded, but I couldn't see what she said. So there's a response to the note.
So long as the trust votes, either can sign. That's what she says.
There we go.
Oh, great. That was awesome.
Okay.
Ted, so if you want to,
I could pass by this morning. Is that work for you?
so you have to sign it in front of a notary. Tracy is a notary, so I have to go over to town hall after this meeting. So I can leave the document with her and have you pop over there.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, that's great. I should be there within an hour. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so in that case, we got to wrap this up quick.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys, next item on the agenda. I'm sorry, are there any questions on trust fund investments? None? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to executive session. We have an executive session on the agenda to discuss the reputation, character, physical condition, or mental health, rather than professional competence of an individual, or to discuss the discipline or dismissal or complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual. The individual will be to be discussed in such executive session shall be notified in writing by the public body at least 48 hours prior to the proposed executive session. We have done that, correct?
I'm sorry, I was replying to you, Karis. What was the start of your question?
We have notified, we put out notification at least 48 hours prior.
Yes, Eddie notified Ms.
Got it.
Crawford.
Thank you. Provided, however, that notification may be waived upon written agreement of the parties, open meeting law complaint against the Cohasset Affordable Housing Trust is the subject. And with that, as exemption, the chair moves that we go into executive session.
Just before we go, I'm sorry to bother you. One of the things we discussed at the last meeting was whether or not some members might consider staying on. I've been trying to manage my time. I will send a letter in this week indicating I'd be interested in staying on the Affordable Housing Trust. So I just wanted to let the members know I'll be doing that this week.
All right,
Any help the select
great.
do with that, we would have quorum. So
We'll take that up at the end. All
Okay.
right. We have a motion for executive session. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, thank you, Paul. Start with you, Paul Grady.
Paul Grady, aye.
All right, Ted Carr,
aye.
Cindy Matheson,
Cindy Matheson, aye.
Steve Gomer, aye. We are now in executive session. Executive session is adjourned. We now re-enter open session with administrative items on the docket. We have Murphy Hesse invoices, total of $1,000, $1,100, $1,200. 3 different invoices, one for 500, one for 125, one for 575. Each of these are, if you've taken a look at them, each of these are for specific time periods, and general advice to us at attending meetings and the like. So, do I have a motion to approve payment?
So moved.
Second,
Thank you. A motion and a second. Move straight ahead to a vote. Cindy Matheson,
Cindy Matheson, aye.
Carr,
All right.
Paul Grady,
Paul Grady, aye.
Steve Gomer, aye. Okay. I want to take the next two in tandem as opposed to individual. You see bills for the 43 Elm Street Homeowners Association covering quarterly payments. What has been broken out here by Cassandra is the monthly payment, $476.97. And separately, the water and sewer bill, which is now due for 43 Elm Street Unit 2 at $249.10. Okay. I'd like to hear a motion to pay those 2 bills immediately.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
All right. Motion and a second. Let's move ahead. Cindy Matheson,
Cindy Matheson, aye.
Ted Carr,
Ted Carr, aye.
Steve, Paul Grady,
Paul Grady, aye.
Steve Gomer, aye. Okay. Next item on the agenda is just approval of minutes for both March 12, 2025 and April 16th, 2025.
I'd make a motion to approve.
Thank you. The chair will second, because why not? All right, Paul Grady,
Paul Grady, aye.
Ted Carr,
Ted Carr, aye.
Cindy Matheson,
Cindy Matheson, aye.
Steve Gomer, aye. All right, now we're on to the next and last item. And not a small one. We do need a minutes taker, a recorder. And since this has shown up on the docket, placed there, I believe, by Cassandra. Possibly, Cassandra, you have some thoughts on this?
I just put it on the agenda because we hadn't taken the time to discuss finding someone new. And there are at least a couple options. Ted just mentioned someone, and there's also now that Rob Jeffers is no longer on the trust, his wife does minutes for a lot of the other boards and committees, and
Oh, wonderful.
prior to him leaving the trust, he mentioned that she may be willing, now that it's not a conflict of interest. So
Remind
there's
us of
a couple
her
different
name.
options.
What is her name?
This is,
Her first name is Leontina.
okay. It makes sense, to certainly make an outreach. We've got two options that we've just discussed. Ted knows of, through his work with the school committee, knows of one, and, Mrs. Jeffers being the other. Do we have any understanding of, what Leontina's, track record has been with the other boards and committees?
I have heard that she does excellent work.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ted.
Sorry, I know them both well. They're my neighbors, and I know of her involvement in other outside organizations. I would highly suggest, if she's available, we try to get her, and she's local. But the woman at the school committee is superb. I've worked with Catherine for 3 years now as secretary of the school committee.
Okay.
Two good options there.
But I add something.
Yes, Paul.
I would just say, in light of Rob's dedication and town service, that we head right in that direction.
Yeah.
There's no conflict of interest. I'd be more than open. I'm a firm believer in rewarding loyalty and dedication. So why not follow up? We can make it quick.
I'm glad to hear you say that, because there's a town parcel that I sure would like to buy.
There you go.
I'm kidding. Cindy, how are you?
I also mentioned that when we were looking for someone initially, we did interview Leontina as well. And we
Oh,
opted
okay.
to go with Mrs. Barriford, just because we were dividing up options, because Leontina was going to be working elsewhere, and it just seemed to make sense at the time. So we have had contact, and we interviewed her once before. So I'm all for asking Leontina if she would be willing to take our minutes.
Okay, how would you like to proceed?
I'll make a motion that we hire Leontina, she has a different last name than Jeffords, to be our new minutes taker for Affordable Housing Trust moving forward.
I would second that. Only I would add, maybe just, I would, Cindy, that we interview to hire. Just, I would add that in. Interview to hire if she's agreeable as well. I just wanted to put that out there, and I hope she.
It's good.
Sounds good.
Okay. So interview to hire being the amendment to the motion. Does a second still stand?
Yes, my second stands.
Oh.
Okay. All right. Then in that case, any further discussion? All right. Ted Carr,
Ted Carr, aye.
Cindy Matheson,
Cindy Matheson, aye.
Paul Grady,
Paul Grady, aye.
Steve Gomer, aye. Look at that. We completed this. I'm sorry, Paul, I'm 5 minutes over.
Don't worry. I'll exceed the speed limit on my way. Don't worry.
Okay. Do we have any topics that were not on the agenda, not anticipated 48 hours prior?
No, you accomplished a lot.
Good. All right, guys. In that case, then let's hear a motion to adjourn. Get on with the day. And
Yep.
Ted, thank you for signing for us.
My pleasure. I'll come down here shortly to see Tracy and do it today.
Okay. Sorry, Paul, were you in the midst of making a motion?
Adjournment. I made a motion.
Okay. Second?
Second.
Okay. I think Cindy, you were saying second, but it got over chattered. All right, motion and a second for adjournment. One more time, Paul Grady,
Paul Grady, aye.
Cindy Matheson,
Cindy Matheson, aye.
Ted Carr, aye.
Aye.
I know I answered for you.
Oh,
Steve Gomer, aye. And thank you very much, Cassandra, for putting it together once again. We are adjourned, and enjoy your days, guys.
Have a great day, everybody.
You too.
Thank
Take
you
care.
all.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.